I got a really cool thing you could do. Pick 3 guys, and you send.
You're holding up 4 fingers.
And it.
Please put that as the
Oh
intro.
my god! What's going on in my mind right now?
Holy crap.
3 fingers. Take my strong hand.
Welcome to No Putts Given, episode 19. The date is Friday, October 11th, 2019. My name is Sam Robinson. I am the director of the mygolfspy LabX testing facility. I'm here with my colleagues, our fearless leader, Adam Beach, owner of mygolfspy, and my comrade from the testing facility, Harry Nodwell. He's our director of soft goods testing. Today we are talking about wet wedges. Harry's got a good deep tip for us, and then we're finally getting Adam out on the golf course tomorrow for a fun tournament. So that's about it for today. It's going to be a short one, but let's get it.
No Putts Given is powered by mygolfspy, the most extensive reviews in golf. Before you buy, mygolfspy. 9 million readers do it every year. Check us out. So, question for you, Harry.
Mm-hmm.
You ready?
No.
It's a deep thought right here. Would you rather have a 3-foot putt or a 13-foot putt?
That's a tough one.
Is it?
I like to ball out. I like to go 13 foot.
You like
in.
13?
I like
That's
a 3-foot
stupid
putt.
question. 3 foot, obviously.
Exactly. So
Clown question, bro.
the reason we asked that is because what we found in the test facility, we're publishing 2019 Most Wanted Wedge test results
Next week.
And you're not going to want to miss this one because what will be included in that test, I think, is the first time in the industry. It's a industry first, I think, right?
Yeah, it's largest head-to-head wet and dry comparison wedge test
That I think's ever been done.
Yeah.
You know, we've heard about it. We know that some companies put things on their clubs or do things to their clubs to improve what we found, but it's not marketed really well. It's not explained to the consumer really well. And I also don't think the average golfer has any clue about how much impact there is from wet versus dry. So
And I don't even think it's just the average golfer. I think it's average to elite golfers.
I want to know if the PGA pros know this too. I mean, DeChambeau
Bryson
probably
just-
does know
yeah.
that.
So what we're getting at here is this. What we found is alarming, shocking, crazy, whatever word you want to put on it. Let's just put this into some context really quickly for everyone out there listening. What we found was up to a 41% difference in wedge spin when you go from the exact same wedge being dry to in wet conditions. And that's insane. So that's the difference between 2,000 some, right? 2,843 and 7,014 on a 60-yard.
Let's put that into context real quick. 2843 is what a lot of people spin their driver at. Mid 2000s is driver spin rate.
Yeah, so the average golfer thinks wedge spin the ball back. That takes around 10,000 RPM to do that, right?
Yep.
So when you're talking 2,800 spin, I don't think the average golfer would want their wedge to spin 2,800. And why? Because what you want is, especially for pros, when you're talking about Dustin Johnson and DeChambeau, they want predictability versus unpredictability. And what we found was largely unpredictability in our test.
The top brands that you're going to the store and buying and you're watching the guys on tour playing may not be producing the kind of performance that you need on the golf course.
Yes, so the full results with all the data is going to come next week, but we just wanted to highlight this on the podcast because it is such an
Faux show.
Yeah, so
I can't do that, sorry.
you're not a
A
faux
white
show
Englishman can't do that. Faux show.
So right when Harry kind of came up with this new protocol for wedge testing, he sent some early data, and it was shocking then. Small data set, but it made us actually stop our wedge test, scrap all the results, and start the test completely
And that was
over.
with 2 good wedges that we've known to be good too.
Well, and back up a little bit. I mean, our first testing protocol, we did what we did in the ball test. We just sprayed the ball.
Correct.
And when we did the ball test,
We've been told by leaders in the industry.
Right, and we definitely consult with major manufacturers, guys that are a lot smarter on this kind of stuff than we are. But they advise us to do, and it worked fine with the ball test. I mean, it worked so well that we were having issues getting the TrackMan to track the ball because it was flying so high with such little spin. But then when I was actually in France and Harry completed this test, I opened my email up. He goes, yeah, I went ahead and tried it at a few different scenarios where you wet the turf, wet the face, and you wet the ball, and then you altered some.
Yeah, I pretty much did every variable.
And if you've listened to any of these episodes, we've kind of touched on that, right? Mm-hmm. But for those that have not listened, basically the way wet testing is done in general from anyone that's ever done it is just spraying the ball, correct?
Right, because it's usually on a robot on a tee.
Correct. But when on a robot, you're not taking in consideration the turf, the club, and all that stuff, which that's what you hit.
Right, and and whenever you're on the golf course, this is something that I didn't know. It doesn't matter how dry it is outside, and if there's moisture in the air, there's going to be moisture on the ground. So there's moisture that's coming into contact with the face of the club when you're hitting a golf ball if you're on turf.
So just to capture the essence of that, in my opinion, and that is for every golfer listening, you're going to want to pay attention because what we found is happening on every golf shot that you hit with your wedges, right? So here's what we found. A difference of up to 41% from dry to wet conditions. Launch angle of up to 5 or 6 degrees higher.
I have launch changes of 9 degrees.
9 degrees higher. And from wet to dry conditions.
Yep.
So dry, then wet launching up to 9 degrees higher just by being wet.
And we should probably tell them we tested at 60 yards for both of these, for
Correct.
both wet and dry conditions.
So let's go over the good and the bad and the ugly, right? So the good, ping. What's amazing is that the Ping Glide 3.0 and the Ping Glide 3.0 I2 wedges were first and second in the spin delta rank, which means how much difference there was from wet to dry, right?
Yeah, they had the smallest change in spin rate from wet to dry conditions, or dry to wet conditions, I should say.
And they also had the least amount of difference in launch difference in wet to dry conditions. So think about it. If you buy the Ping Glide 3.0 or I2 3.0 Ping wedges, you can expect to have almost the same spin and launch, whether it's wet, dry, or anything like that in between for the most part, because we tested all the different variables of wetness.
And they have this really cool coating. They call it a hydrophobic coating. So when you're in swing, it helps disperse some of that water out of the grooves. And that's what...
Yeah, think of a tire track and it just basically goes up and through.
And the cool thing is they're not the only guys doing it either.
Yeah, so good point. So another company that did well in this is Mizuno. And the reason that they finished well is probably because of what, Sam?
They have hydro flow micro grooves. So
cool
they instead of adding a a coating, they said more grooves are better. So they have your traditional milled grooves, and then you have the spin mill, and then they have these vertical micro grooves that they've put on the face that are supposed to help control the flow of water.
And it seems to be working because for all intents and purposes, you hear a lot of marketing claims by companies and fancy schmancy words like hydrophobicity and all these, slots and all the stuff that golf companies come up with. And you never know which ones are working and which ones aren't. But I can tell you this, the Ping definitively works. The Mizuno works. And a couple companies that did well that might surprise you are Honma and Wilson FG Tour. So Honma, kind of a newcomer back on the scene, did really well. Wilson did really well, finished third in spin and first in launch delta difference, or tied for first. And why do you think that is, Sam?
What we looked at was it's a raw finish wedge.
So you're thinking that raw wedge helped, in your opinion. You said even during the test, as it was starting to become more of a rusted finish, you were seeing improved spin. Is that correct? Didn't you say that, Harry?
Yes.
Yes. So Chris Vishal from Mizuno actually tweeted out something really good the other day, and it's not because there's any type of crazy milling. It's because the raw finish has an absence of a coating. So when you coat a wedge with something, the grooves end up actually become less sharp.
Become dull on the edges.
And other manufacturing companies have attempted to figure out ways to preserve the sharpness of the groove. So like Cleveland does something really cool in their manufacturing process. When they're milling the initial grooves, once they mill the grooves, they fill it with something, and then until they're done being sandblasted, then they pull that.
Yeah, so it actually has the deeper groove.
Right, so when
it's
you look
more
at a
spin.
Cleveland wedge and you look inside the grooves are actually shiny rather than have a satin sandblasted finish.
Not to get too far off topic, but we ran into this. I don't know if it was before you started working at mygolfspy or not, but Renegade wedges. I don't know if anybody remembers those or not. Awesome grind in the sole. They sent us wedges to do some preliminary prototype testing.
Yeah.
And we were sending them the numbers back, and they were dumbfounded. I mean, their wedges were spinning like 4,000, full swings, right? And they said, this can't be. And what, you get you look really closely at the grooves, and you could tell that when they put that finish on, it just took the groove away, So at the end of the day, you want a wedge to perform the same on every shot you hit, and you want it to be predictable. And what was kind of interesting is it's not about price, meaning it's not the most expensive wedges that do it the best. It's not the coolest brands that do it the best. It's really the ones that tend to have paid attention and focused on this, right? Mizuno put some real, money where their mouth was, where this was. Ping did. Cobra has talked about with us for years.
I mean,
and
Cobra's done pretty good in them. I mean, they've 5, 7, and 9.
All three of Cobra's wedges, the Cobra, King Mem, the One, and the King, all performed in the top third of the test for the most part.
Well, and back to the whole FG Tour being the raw finish. Raw finish is nothing new when it comes to wedges. I mean, you can look back to Vokey when he was doing oil can finishes and those types of things. But I think with the rise of technology, and now we have the ability to track spin rates in different conditions, you can really see the differences that having a raw finish.
Here's what I don't like about raw finishes versus hydrophobicity or something else, right? Hydrophobicity is going to give me a consistent, once again, predictable result, right? A raw wedge is going to start spinning more over time.
Yeah.
That's not predictable.
Right.
I want predictability, and you don't need to do it with raw anymore. While some people think that looks cool, I think it looks like shit. I don't want a wedge that looks trash. Cool. That's a subjective thing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But why even you don't need it anymore when ultimately you want predictability.
Well, another cool little tidbit that I found out is
what did you find?
Just a little tidbit. In the dry portion itself, there was a spin rate difference of 1,029 revs when it comes to non-milled face and a milled face.
Are you saying that milled faces spin the ball on average 1,000 more?
Yes. Well, that's from the highest spinning one to the one with no milled face on it. And
so give me 2 examples of a wedge that didn't have it and a wedge that did that you saw a big difference.
So Miura didn't have a milled face, and on average it span 6,646. So that was one of the lowest.
Versus one of the best, which was
the 7,454. And that was actually Tomiyama over and out.
All right, so
there's a milled face, yeah.
Not only did we find wet-dry differences, we also found some other little interesting differences. Like, obviously wedges have grooves, but there's also different milling patterns that they use on wedges, and it makes a difference. And especially on the different distances that you're going to be hitting,
for sure,
that engage different layers of the wedge face.
Yeah.
But before we get into that too much, let's get back to the good and the bad, right? So the good, like we said, Ping, Mizuno, Cobra, Wilson. The bad, Callaway PM grind, TaylorMade milled grind, high toe, Tommy Armour.
Both of the Tommy Armours didn't do really well.
Bettinardi, and Miura. And I would say, here's what I'm thinking. It's big versus small sometimes. And what I mean by that is these smaller companies, Bettinardi, not known for making wedges, Miura, which is, a more high-end type company that doesn't really focus on tech as much as some of the other companies.
Looks and feel seems to be their game.
Yeah, Tommy Armour. Some of these companies that are maybe going over to a foundry, not with their own tech, and kind of just saying, hey, we need to get into the wedge game.
Right.
What can we do? They come up with a wedge. I don't think they've spent decades evolving a wedge design, like Ping.
They don't have a testing program dedicated to figuring out how they can maintain spin rate in wet conditions.
And you need to do that to get those percentage better at stuff like this that no one would have given a shit about before. And if companies like mygolfspy doesn't test these things, what happens is this. Ping, Mizuno's in the world developed this technology, and they don't even really market it or tell anybody because I don't think they think the consumer cares, right?
Yeah.
And I think this testing, what I think is going to happen from this is two things. 2-3 years from now, I think every company, the Tommy Armours, the Mioras, everyone is now going to go to their wedge foundry and go, hey, we've got to get some hydrophobic something on this wedge, right? The consumer, once they learn it and you put the power to the player, then they start pushing the manufacturers to step up and make a better product.
I think one of the coolest takeaways from this test in general is just the general knowledge that your performance changes so much when you introduce more than one variable, and in this case it's water. But for people to, like, I've said this before, I used to go out in the mornings and wonder, oh man, my ball's flying a little higher, it feels like it's kind of hotter off the face. No, it's just launching higher with lower spin. And I didn't know that the moisture in between my club and the ball was what was causing
that's another great point. Back to the ball test we did. No one ever blamed themselves on a shot that went 20 yards left on the ball before. They're usually like, oh, that was my swing, right?
Yeah.
Out to in, out. I didn't do this, I didn't do that. And now we found that balls can be part of that. Now we found that Sam Robinson, a really good golfer, Harry Nodwell, a really good golfer, goes up to hit a 100-yard shot, executes that shot perfectly, right?
Yeah.
Comes up to the green and goes, man, that was my 100-yard shot. I hit it perfect. I hit it on the face where I wanted to. It should be 1 foot away from the hole. And you get up there and it's 11 feet away and you're going, man.
It must have hit a hard part of the green.
Exactly.
Oh, shit, sprinkler head.
Green didn't hold it today. Greens aren't holding today or whatever, Their golfers are going, maybe the wind up there above the trees is different, And that is a huge difference. There's so many variables in golf. Part of mygolfspy's job is to limit these down to where you can go out there and play your best golf without having to worry about all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So finding a ball that's more consistent, right? Finding a wedge that's more consistent. All these things, when you say don't matter, I can tell you this. If you have 13-foot putts all day versus 3-foot putts all day, your score is going to be higher. Right?
I mean, that's what the statistics say.
Well, it's proven.
If you can prove that wrong, then damn, you're a really good putter.
Yeah,
I'm sure there will be people
I'm
sure there will be people on Instagram that are going to love to argue with us about this, but facts just are really hard for Instagram to really
think
grasp.
About it. Harry and I are elite golfers, and thinking back to when I included you in that. I include that in.
We wait for tomorrow.
Oh yeah. So no, what I'm saying is, I used to work at a club, and you go to clean the members' clubs when he brings his bag, and every damn club is filled with dirt in the grooves.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm guilty of that too, and that's just me being lazy. And I'll get up to it. Granted, they'll be dirty before I hit the shot, and then as soon as I'm about to hit the shot, I clean them.
But it's not because you know that it affects your performance and then you're lazy. It's that you don't know it affects your performance and you just happen to be lazy just because you're lazy.
Yeah. So valid point. I would like to know from the Cart Barn guys, Kyle Mays.
Yeah, Kyle, where you at?
That would be interesting.
Kyle, you let me know. Today, you've seen a lot of dirty ass clubs, right? Matt will throw up a really good picture, I'm sure, of my clubs that look terrible. But I want to know what clubs start to look like a year from now, 5 years from now, because golfers, all I can tell you is this. What we found is every layer of stuff that you add to that face of that club is going to diminish your ability to predict the final result of that shot. And what that means is water, gravel, dirt, old wedge grooves.
And you can't come in here and say, oh, I'm not good enough to predict what's going to happen. Like, yeah, it doesn't matter what your handicap is. I'm sure in a general area how far you hit your 8-iron. And as soon as you start introducing things like water and dirt and all that shit, even if your window is this big, it just got this much bigger.
Yeah, so public service announcement, all you have to do is make sure of two things, that your grooves, your face of your wedge is clean, your grooves are clean, and that it's dry.
Dry.
Clean and dry. And if you get clean and dry, you will get at least a predictable result. And you might be a shitty golfer, but you're going to be less shitty of a golfer
Exactly.
by cleaning and drying your wedges.
Yeah, you're just doing a disservice to yourself if you don't, take extra care. And I've been telling people ever since we've done the ball test, and I'm doing it too. If I play in the morning, I have a towel on me wherever I am. I'm trying to stay dry.
I've done that. I've started to around the greens chipping. I've started to bring a towel and on the greens.
It may add 10 seconds to your play clock there, but yeah. So I guess for the listeners out there, then if I'm a listener and I'm gonna go buy my next set of wedges, and I may even do a fitting. How is there a way that I can incorporate the wet wedge portion, or should we say wait till next week for our results to come out, and then you can kind of get an idea of what does well?
Here's the way I say it about people say this about True Golf Fit, right? They're like, well, how can True Golf Fit be better than a real fitting? No different than why I'm going to tell you why you should probably just use our data for wet versus dry. Because if you went in for a wet wedge test with your wedge and you were going to get fit, you're going to be able to swing 20 different wedges today, enough times to know which ones did well for you. That's the role of mygolfspy, right? Like, first of all, we know there's a diminishing returns after a certain amount of swings by a human, right?
Right.
So there's no way you're going to be able to hit all the wedges in the market and find out which one performed best for you, wet and dry. Oh, by the way, how are you going to produce in a golf shop the spraying on the ball and the spraying on the mat? They're not going to let you do that, Right. So that's why this is such a powerful data set that's going to publish next week, is because it's the only time it's been done.
It's hard to get. It's hard for the average golfer to complete.
And it's all head to head. That's the power. Like, that's why we don't do individual reviews anymore, because there's just no value in it.
Right.
You need to do it all head to head so the consumer can see it all at the same time, side by side. So if you're in the game, in the market for a wedge, what I would say,
just look at that data set that we're going to publish.
Sit on your hands for a week and, wait till next week when the Most Wanted Wedge results come out, because I just think no different than the golf ball results. They were shocking. And the takeaway from the golf ball is I'm playing the same damn ball every shot, because that eliminates variability and gives me the most predictable thing, right? Wedges, I'm going with Pinger and Mizuno, most likely, because they offer the most predictable way for me to reach my maximum potential, period.
Bling blow.
And then give it 2 or 3 years, and then you could probably pick and choose your wedge, because it's all going to be the same.
I'm going to give you the Mioras tomorrow, and I'm rolling with the Pings, man.
Great, thanks.
So tomorrow when we play in this tournament, if we leave the flag stick in, okay?
Keep our wedges dry.
Keep our wedges dry and clean, and play the same ball.
We might break 80.
I might break 80.
Oh, yeah. Well, hey, I mean, you have a better chance of breaking 80 than you did before if you do all those things.
Tomorrow, oh my God, I am not turning pro if you beat me.
Wait.
Yeah.
Can we bet on it?
I'll bet on it.
Hey, you still owe me for me kicking your ass.
Yeah, somebody said yesterday, they came in like, so how'd the little match with you and Harry with the infomercial clubs go? I was like,
that's what you gotta do. You gotta
really
play with infomercial clubs tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
That is the round.
I'll play with the infomercial clubs tomorrow.
Do we have the F2 still?
Dude, I got them all
It's got
right
to be
there.
upstairs, yeah. Hopefully it's dry.
It's actually been, this is the first time I've seen the sun all week.
I know, tomorrow's supposed to be nice.
Is it?
Yep, 72.
I know it's going to be a little breezy.
Breezy, baby.
You know what they say when it's breezy?
What?
Swing it easy.
Swing it easy. Harry taught me how to hit a knockdown shot when we were in college.
Really?
Yeah.
Best lesson I ever got. Hey, how do you think I won the conference championship our senior year?
Yeah, that was a windy course.
It was windy as hell out there.
He did beat me there, yeah. Yeah, in hindsight, I shouldn't have done
Well, that being said, did Rick Shields call somebody
Has he
else?
challenged us yet?
Did he challenge y'all?
I mean,
look, all I'm saying is, Rick, we're ready.
Hey, you know where we live.
VA.
Come on down.
I just hit 178 ball the other day,
yeah.
so
You hit what?
178 ball speed.
Ooh.
I taught him a long drive.
We were messing around in the office the other day, and he goes, "Dude, you just gotta squat and push into it and like do this." And then ball speeds went from like 172 to like 76, like instantly.
I hit 350. He did the same thing. We both drove the green.
He goes, I got a second gear now.
I'm getting ready for Jamie Sedlowski at the PGA show.
Oh, man.
We moving it out here, dog. We eating.
I'm going to have to bring that illegal jet speed out tomorrow.
Keep up with
Oh
us.
my God, please do that.
Chucky's going to feel so bad being all the way back there.
Oh, man. He's going to be so far back. Now we're going to move on to our next section, which we want to discuss, and that is a deep tip from
Harry's
Nodwell.
Harry's deep tips.
Are you a hooker?
Do you hook the ball?
Yes.
Do you hook the ball? Yes. If you hook the ball, put your driver settings to a flat settings, and that will straighten your shot right out.
That's a great tip because I have that problem. I play a big draw to a hook off the tee, and when the 410 G series from Ping came out, Sam was running me through a fitting in the studio trying to eliminate that shot, and he said, give me the driver, threw him the driver, dropped it in the flat setting, and what happened, Sam?
Straighten your hook right out, brother.
I was hitting fairways for days.
Well, and that's something that we've struggled with since I've known you, is that your miss is left going left, and if there's anything we can do, and you hit the ball a long way.
Yeah.
For the seasoned man that you are, you can move the ball.
That's a very good way to put it without getting fired.
The cool thing about a flat setting is that we know that with irons, if you tend to miss it left, if you flatten the iron out, it typically mitigates some of that face rollover, and it'll help to kind of straighten the ball flight out. And Ping has done something really cool where they've added a flat setting to their hosel sleeve, to where if you're most better players tend to miss it, but regardless of your handicap, if you miss it left, dropping that hosel sleeve into the flat setting can help.
It made an instant change.
Well, we took the CG weight and put it to the fade setting, and then we put you on flat and
yeah, you got a nice baby draw.
Hitting dingers.
Yeah, so on this episode of Why Ping Does It Better, Ping does it again, not only with the wedge, with the hydrophobicity, but the flat setting. And, it's another, knob that they've allowed fitters to help golfers, hit more fairways, right?
And then they're just not the only company to actually do a flat
I think
setting.
they're the company doing it the best.
I agree.
Well, and adjustable hosel sleeves invariably change the lie if you adjust loft. So if I have any driver and I have an adjustable hosel sleeve and I drop it down to a lower loft, it's gonna flatten the head out. That's just how the design of the hosel sleeve
and
works.
open the club face.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's nice to have a setting for an average golfer that goes, okay, they understand for the most part, since Ping did it with irons with the color code system, flat and upright, right? So, you take PXGs, I think theirs goes flat as well, correct? Mm-hmm. But it doesn't say flat.
It doesn't, no. So I was trying to find it anywhere and everywhere, and I couldn't find it until I went on their site. And they have like a clock system, and it's not even identified as a flat setting. It's just blank.
But what's interesting about the hosel sleeve from Ping is that they give you the ability to drop loft by a degree, keep it neutral, or add loft by a degree. So let's say I'm a hooker, but I need a little more loft, but I need to straighten my ball flight out. I can then add loft, put in the flat setting, and then essentially they're just giving more fitting options to fit a wider array of golfers. Yeah,
which is what Ping does really well, right? I mean, they've kind of taken the big OEM kind of status and applied that hometown fitter vibe and melted the two together as best as you can as a big company as they are,
Well, something that we struggle with a lot in the testing facility, and Harry can attest to it, is that we get guys that we need to use adjustable hosel sleeves to try to add loft, for instance. And anytime you add loft, it's going to shut the club face and increase the lie angle. So we're getting into a situation where, like, well, do we really want to add loft because that's going to increase his draw? And then you get into an issue where we want to make sure that we're testing the product properly, but we also have to make sure it's fit.
Yeah, what's really, I think, a good visual for maybe it works for me is like when we fit people for Most Wanted, right? A lot of people ask, do you fit for Most Wanted in testing? And we do a window fitting, right?
Right.
And golfers need to kind of try to find their window.
Yeah.
What your window is, meaning 2,400 and this
optimal launch angle, optimal spin rate.
Yeah. What is your window, speed. Right? And this flat setting just allows one more knob to allow you to find your window more easily with a talented fitter.
Yeah.
So, great tip today, Harry.
I've got a million of them.
I know. We can't wait. So we're going to start doing a few more of those every week. Deep tips with Harry Nodwell and the crew here. And we're going to try to keep it as simple as possible and easy as it can be for you to apply it to your game. So with what he's saying, go out there and experience a Ping driver, test one, demo one, wherever your local shop is, And if you do tend to hook the ball, ask the fitter to put it on a flat setting and see what kind of difference it makes for you.
And we want to just mention that it is the new line of G410, line. The G400 does not have that setting.
Correct. All of their new hosel sleeves, whether it be the hybrid, the fairway metal, or the driver, feature that eight-way adjustability.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and that driver is going straight in my basket tomorrow.
Yeah, we already got. It's actually right there.
I'm going to come up with some catchphrases. So going straight in my basket.
So tomorrow we're playing in a tournament. What the hell did I get myself into here? What are we playing in?
So the club, Williamsburg Club, is hosting a one-day member guest where the member is allowed to bring up to. I don't know if you can have more, but most guys will bring like 1, 2, or 3 guests. Chucky, your best friend, is notorious for bringing 3 partners because it gives him the best chance of getting in the shootout. Because essentially, I'm on a team with Chuck, you're on a team with Chuck, and so is Harry.
Yeah.
And we'll be in different flights, and whoever wins the flight will go to the shootout.
So we won last year, right? We made it to the shootout.
Yeah,
right?
you did. I didn't.
Yeah.
Well, I was a member last year at the club, so I didn't play with you guys.
Yeah, gotcha. We lost in the shootout, but
Yeah.
we're back to, I guess, avenge.
It's going to be an interesting day tomorrow with Chucky at the helm.
Yes.
So
Very interesting days when Chucky's there.
well, I assume that there's going to be, what did you guys call it, Zima?
Oh, yeah. Bringing Zima back for all you old heads out there.
I don't know what Zima is, but I'm assuming it's some kind of malt liquor.
I remember hearing, I think it was on Friends, where they go, all right, and I have 6-pack of Zima.
Yep, Zima.
And
some
I had
Jolly
no
Ranchers.
clue until
it was
now.
released when I was born, the year I was born.
It's so crazy.
Or no, discontinued the year I was born?
I was 3 years old.
So
can't
Chucky, when it first came out, was our senior year in high school, and we went to Beach Week every summer for the right when you're out of school, you go to the beach for a week. And
So you were drinking alcohol
I'm not
illegally?
talking about me personally.
All right, so people
talking about Chucky.
People at the party, there was
Talking
underage
about
drinking.
Chucky.
Okay.
So I woke up in the morning and Chucky had Zima in his cereal. That was what he was eating cereal with.
Wow.
What does it taste like?
I don't know. I've never had
Straight ass. That's just terrible.
That's appealing to me, but
it. Yeah,
Why would you even think about doing
Chucky
that?
was a little wild back in the day.
I believe it.
He still
Has
is.
he tamed down? Has he tamed down to Fireball now?
I don't know what's going to come out tomorrow.
Fireball
but
in the eye.
All I know is that the Crown and Gingers are going to be flowing.
yes,
Well, I'm looking
definitely.
forward to playing golf on a work day, so that's
As
one
am
of those
I.
ones.
Yeah,
As am
so
I.
it should be good. So, Harry and I, you want to put a little bet down?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. No work on Monday?
Ooh.
I really can't get out of that. though.
Yeah, you can't. It's a win-win for me.
We'll figure out a
Yeah,
bet.
we'll figure out something.
So, other than that, Tony is at PXG right now, right? So he gets back tomorrow. And
He's coming up with Michael Collins and Pat Perez over there.
Yeah, Tony's quite the
Celebrity.
Yeah, he is.
Is he an influencer?
I don't know. But yeah, so can't really say what they're taking a look at yet. But
Do they even know?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're probably
Yeah.
hitting it.
I know they're doing the new line of clubs, and I think. And
Are we
then
talking
the
Gen
apparel.
3? There's Gen 3?
I don't know.
Guess we'll find out.
Yeah, guess we'll find out.
Bet.
Word.
All right, Adam. You got one word to end it?
Bye.